Hello, fellow spooks. How are you? I hope that you're doing amazing. My name is Rachel, and this is Rachel Unabridged, where I talk about books and horror. Today, I wanted to come on here and show you guys what I'm planning to read in February. I have a whole bunch of books that I'm really interested in and really excited about. Most of them are ARCs, but a couple of them are from my physical TBR shelf. So I'm really excited to get to those and see what they're like, and then get with you guys and see if y'all have read any of them. I've made myself a cup of tea. This is just some oolong tea that I had in the closet, so grab yourself a cup of tea or some coffee and let's talk about books. The first book that I'm planning to read in February is episode 13 by Craig dilouie. I got this on NetGalley. It's an ARC. I think that the publisher is Red Hook Books. I'm not really sure if I've read anything by them before, but I'm really excited to check out this book because I read another Craig dilouie in the past. I think it was Suffer the Children. But this book seemed really interesting. It's about a husband and wife, like, ghost hunting team, and they go to this presumably haunted location and shit gets scary. This book is supposed to come out January 24th, so by the time this video comes out, it should have been out for a day. So I'm really excited to read it. It seems like it's going to be really interesting. And I love a good, like, haunted location kind of story, and I'm really into ghost hunting as kind of a hobby, so I like to see it portrayed in the books that I'm reading. I'm very excited. The next book that I'm going to be reading in February is Piñata by Leopoldo Gout. This is a release by Tor Nightfire. I got an e-arc of it from NetGalley, and I'm really excited to read this one. I think it comes out March 14th or something like that, but it is a folk horror story, or at least that's what the description makes it sound like. On the page, it was described as A Head Full of Ghosts meets Mexican Gothic, so I'm really intrigued by that. I haven't read A Head Full of Ghosts yet, but I have read Mexican Gothic, and I loved it, so I'm really excited to check this one out. Based on what I've read, it seems like it's about a woman and her daughters. They are in Mexico, and she's sort of heading this renovation of an old abbey down there, but something goes wrong and they end up having to go back home to New York, but some kind of spooky entity seems to have followed them there. It seems like such a fun premise. I really love folk horror. It's one of my favorite subgenres of horror. Like, I think cosmic and folk horror are the two that I have the most fun with when I read them. So very excited to check this out. And I've never read anything by this author before. I don't know if this is a debut book by him or not, but it sounds really interesting. So I will be back to let you guys know how that was. Another book that I'm going to be reading in February is The Scourge Between Stars by Ness Brown. This is another Tor Nightfire book. I read a lot of books that comes out in the Nightfire line by Tor, so I am not surprised that they have so many that sound so interesting to me. They have, like, some real bangers that they're releasing. So this one comes out on April 4th, so this is an e-arc that I got from NetGalley, and it is a sci-fi horror novella. It sounds like it's going to be super interesting. I feel like sci-fi horror is very underrepresented. It's a very, like, underappreciated genre, and I love to see any kind of sci-fi horror that comes out, whether it's books, movies, video games. I enjoy them all, so really excited to check this out. It looks like, from what I've read, it's just a crew on a spaceship. They're kind of like in limp home mode trying to get back to Earth or whatever planet it is that they're from, but the crew starts being hunted down by something that is on the ship. So I'm really excited to check that out. That sounds like a ton of fun, and it's a novella, so it's super short. I feel like it'll be really easy to knock it out, get through it, and I will be back in March to let you guys know how this one was, but it seems very promising. I am so excited. So I feel like I have been reading a lot of ebooks, so I haven't really had physical copies to show you guys, but the reason for that is I get most of my ARCs on NetGalley, and I kind of, there's a bunch of books that when I saw that they were about to come out, I added them to my shelf on Goodreads, and then I was like, wait a minute, I bet I could get ARCs for these on NetGalley. So I requested a whole bunch of ARCs all at once, which normally I wouldn't do, but I knew that I would want to read these like as soon as possible. They already sounded interesting to me, so I have I guess probably 5 or 6 that are left on NetGalley that I kind of want to knock out, so I've kind of made that my priority for the beginning of the year. But I kind of been throwing around this idea in my head of doing some kind of challenge where I read books that I already physically own, because I have an app that I track all of my physical books with, and some of my ebooks if it's something that I spent money on and it wasn't like a freebie that I found on BookBub or something. But I own like over 400 books, but I also have over 100 that I have not even read yet. And this kind of came at a time before I was being more thrifty, I guess, with how I was buying books. For a while, I would just kind of like, if I saw something and it sounded interesting, I would just buy it, but I kind of got burned a few times doing that. So nowadays, what I like to do is borrow from the library, and then if I like the book a lot, then I'll go and buy a physical copy to put on my shelf. But otherwise, I kind of try not to buy books at random unless it's by authors that I already know and trust. So that's kind of how I've been doing things, but I still have this backlog of like 100 and something books that I haven't read yet. So let me know if you guys would be interested in seeing me do like a kind of challenge, maybe for a few months this year, or maybe even like starting in February or March and then continuing on for the rest of the year, where I just knock out the books that I have physically. Obviously, they're not really going to be new books, because this is like a collection that I've kind of cultivated over time. So it might still be interesting though, so let me know if you're into that. For the rest of this video though, the books that I'll be talking about are actually books that I own physically. And let's start with Revival by Stephen King. I have heard about this book, as far as like I've heard people say that it's really good, that it's surprising how good it is, but I don't actually really know what it's about. I say all the time I like to keep it vague. I don't really want to know what a book is about before I read it. I kind of just want a sense of what it's about. Like, is it horror? Is it, specifically sci-fi horror? Is it cosmic horror? Is it fantasy, epic fantasy, urban fantasy? So I don't like to know specifics. I really don't want to know spoilers, obviously. But this book seems really interesting just from like the kind of the way that I've heard people talk about it. And basically all I know about it is some guy meets some guy, and they get really close, and then they meet up later on when the first guy is an adult. That's like the worst summary ever. So yeah, I am really excited for this one. It has kind of a sick cover. I really liked this edition when I saw it. So yeah, really excited to check out Revival by Stephen King. And the last book that's going to be on my official kind of TBR is this beautiful edition. I got it pretty recently, and it is like a storybook edition of The Hobbit by j.r.r. Tolkien. This is going to be a reread. I've already read, like the Lord of the Rings series, as well as some of the other books like the Silmarillion and like the other Middle Earth history kind of stuff. But look at how freaking cute this book is. It's got like all of these adorable illustrations and everything, and I just absolutely loved it. I saw it like, gosh, 2 years ago maybe, and every time I saw it at the bookstore I was like, I have to have that one day. That is so cute. So I'm going to be rereading The Hobbit because I got this cute edition, and I'm probably going to be reading it out loud to my husband. I think I've talked in previous videos about how that's kind of a thing that we do when I find a book that I really like and I don't really have anyone else to talk about it with, and I think that he'll like it. I'll kind of like force it on him, like, hey babe, guess what we're reading tonight? So, over a period of however long it takes for us to read it, like sometimes it'll be just a few days and then sometimes it'll be several weeks, but we'll usually knock out a handful of books that way, and that's what I'm planning on doing with this one, because I want to eventually move on to the Lord of the Rings series, because he says that he never read all of the Lord of the Rings books, which is just absolutely sinful. If you somehow don't know what The Hobbit is about, it is about a hobbit named Bilbo Baggins who is sort of forced on this adventure by the wizard Gandalf. There is a rowdy group of dwarves that are trying to reclaim their homeland and also the treasure that comes with it from a dragon who kind of busted in there and decided that all of their stuff was his. And that's basically the story. He becomes their burglar in their group, and he is tasked with helping them. So that is what I'm planning on reading, like, officially. The way that I do my TBRs is I'll pick 4 or 5 books that are like definitely going to get read, like very specific books. But I generally, depending on how busy I get, manage to read more than just the 4 or 5 books that I pick. And then I kind of save those spots for other books based on kind of how I'm feeling at the moment. So these are the ones that you can expect to see. And then I'm sure there will be 1 or 2, maybe more, of other books that I haven't mentioned in this video. Definitely get in the comments and let me know if you guys have read any of these books or if you're interested in reading any of these books. Also, I've been throwing around the idea of doing some reading vlogs, so let me know if you would like for me to do a reading vlog for any of the titles that I've mentioned. And yeah, I think that's about it. Thank you so much for watching today. I'll be back next week with the part 2 for my Goodreads 2022 Reading Challenge review. Last time we did the first 6 months of 2022, so this time I'll be looking at the last 6 months of 2022, but we'll probably just skim over December because I did already talk about my December reads in another video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you again real soon. Bye.